This is our soybean planter, and this again is a video for the PFI annual conference on how to plant into no-till or cover crops, how to set your planter up. Several different ways to do it again, but I'll show you how we do it. We have two separate planters, primarily because of the acres we cover and because they're such different. We're set up so much differently, one versus the other. We used to plant corn and then we change over to beans. We had a straight bar planter, plant 30-inch corn. We come back, put coulters on, and then add a splitter unit to the back and plant beans so we could get 15-inch beans. But now again, because of the acres we cover and because of the differences in setup, we've just gone to two different planters. So for soybeans, you know, they can grow on top of the ground if you get enough moisture. The depth isn't as important, other than you can save a lot on seed costs if you can put every seed right where you want it. There's also some studies that show placement can be important, so that plants aren't competing with each other as much. You get good spacing, it does help out. So we'll start with the plow, what we call a plow coulter. High number of waves, very narrow. What we're just trying to do is to cut through trash. We come back to double disc opener, and again, those need to be sharp. And then we have narrow wheels. I believe these are 3-inch wheels or 2.5s, but we like the narrow wheel because we find we don't jump over as many roots with when we're planting corn stalks. We're not jumping over as many stalks, as many root balls. It just decreases our chance of lifting the unit out of the ground. We also went to the open wheels. What we find in wetter years, if you kind of put your planter through some mud, it can build up and the units start sliding, and it costs you a lot of time digging those out. And we have these same spike wheels on the back. Now these, you can get these new. This particular planter is a Kinze, but it's an option where they come with these wheels. So it's very similar to the design I showed you on the corn planter. But it's, you know, again, we're trying to stitch the row together, get good seed to soil contact, and for us, we found that these work about the best. This does have hydraulic downforce, and what we find is we're able to plant a little bit faster with the hydraulic downforce. Do you absolutely need it? No. What I'd recommend on soybean planters and the no-till cover crops is to just maximize your force. So if you have the spring downforce, I would set it up. What we did was we set it up with the maximum force, so we know that the unit has the best chance of going in the ground. As far as double disc openers, again, this will have a double row bearing on it. Because of that downforce, it's pretty tough on disc openers. We have tried the serrated type of disc opener, and what we thought was, hey, we can get rid of our openers on the front, our plow coulter, no-till coulter, if you will, and we can just go to the serrated design and it'll cut through the stalks. But what we found, we planted 1 year with that, with no-till coulter on the front, and basically it takes a lot more force, and there's been some studies you can find it takes about 100 pounds more to get that row unit in the ground. So what we ended up doing is not getting to depth, wasting a lot of seed, getting a lower population than what we set out to do. Again, this one has electric drive also. Point of that is to vary the population. When we get heavy ground, it's opposite of corn, we'll do a lighter population, and when we get into sandier, lighter, less fertility ground, we'll increase that population to try to make the plants a little bit taller. Another thing I'll mention too is having two planters. A lot of studies out there show that planting beans earlier gives them more time to flower, higher yields. So what we do typically in a normal year is to we'll start beans first actually. plant a couple days in soybeans, or if the weather isn't quite right for corn, what we find is typically soybeans in most cases can take a little bit more adverse weather than corn early in the season. And so we'll start soybeans a few days, get it up and running, and then we'll go to start corn. And this way we can plant at the same time and try to pick up some yield by getting in the ground, getting the soybeans in the ground earlier, get them to emerge earlier, get a little bit longer window for them to work. The other thing that we found with that is that we are able to move out of what we thought was our ideal RM for soybeans. Typically, when years ago, 20 years ago, we thought if it wasn't around a 3.0, we're not going to get a good yield. But now we'll go down to a group 1.6 and plant them early, and a lot of times that can be our best yield. So it allows us, by having the two planters, not only allows us to get done quicker, but gives us some more options, helps us to spread our risk out, helps us to get some different varieties and different windows to spread our risk that way as far as maturity goes.